rocking the scene. Breaking on down for the B-boys and B-girls, we're in to do they thing. Pump it, louder, come on, don't stop, and keep it going, do it. Let's get it on, move it. Come on, baby, do it.
Welcome to the new sound of online radio. Welcome to the sound of Universal Broadcasting Network. 'Cause you make me feel like I've been locked out of heaven. A mix of today's hits and hard-to-find favorites, combined with the most entertaining and intriguing talk anywhere. This is your sound. This is the sound of Universal Broadcasting Network at UBNradio.com.
Shut up, just shut up, shut up, shut up, just shut up, shut up, shut up, just shut up, shut up, shut it up, just shut up, shut up, shut up, just shut up, shut up, shut up, just shut up, shut up, just shut up.
You should have a dance contest,
She
Anna.
fancies herself a dancer.
I am a dancer. Who says that I'm not Dorothea?
We should have a dance contest.
Shut up.
I'm not shutting up.
God,
for
I
you.
haven't
shut up,
seen you
all of
all
you.
since Sunday.
Sunday.
Really, it should be an
Okay,
entire
we
week.
have so much to talk about. We should
We
have
do.
a 2-hour thing going on today, but alas.
Alas, here we are.
Sunday was great.
It was. We were at the Conscious Life Expo doing our first remote show live.
And I realized this piece of paper
I
I, have
enjoyed
with
it.
me, I got from your friends who do the Chinese medicine, and it's
Oh,
the
yeah.
graph of, apparently I have bowel movement issues, which you can see right there.
See, we would have known that
And
because
I
you
just
don't like.
happened to, that's the piece of paper that I had.
So they just look
that
at you
was-
and say you have bowel movement.
No.
issues?
She
No,
went
no.
through a whole test, and
Yeah.
I had the test too. And when hers was being printed out, my boyfriend, who's Chinese and related to these folks,
Was
said,
he like, "Ooh"?
"No," he said, "Oh my God, Dorothy doesn't have enough green in her graphs."
But
Oh, I wish I was there.
They had medicine to fix me, and there was no medicine to fix you.
There was
You-
no
you cannot
medicine.
be
Well,
What's
fixed.
wrong with you?
I know. I
You're
don't.
stressed.
I'm stressed. I have too much stress, and I'm not
No.
sleeping well. It's hard to believe that you need a machine to tell you this.
See, I had to leave. I'm so bummed. That was the fun part.
But there's no
I'm
medicine
actually,
for my problem.
I'm actually very, very sad today. I'm sort of in mourning over Jon Stewart.
Oh,
I can't believe
know.
Jon Stewart is leaving me. I'm taking this personally. This is the only thing my family does together.
Jon Stewart.
Oh, that is bad.
That sounds sort
That's
of effed up,
significant.
but
It
that's
does
what
not.
that is our
This
thing.
is what you
we
do.
watch.
Everybody
Thank
has
God
their
you
own
have
show.
that, right?
When
That's
not
all
for
you have.
not for long. And I think
Reruns.
you and I disagree on the subject of Brian Williams. There's a lot of media crap going on lately.
How do we disagree? He's got to go. He's
No,
got to go.
I'm
No,
in
we
both-
disagree.
No, I'm in
Why?
both camps. I'm in both camps.
How can you be
I
both?
understand because that's how I roll.
How do you understand that he lied? He
Okay.
intentionally lied.
He told a story on
He-
Letterman. People get fired for that.
No, he didn't just do that. Did you see him at the hockey game where they rolled
did.
the tape and they told the story again
And
in
that
front
aired
of everyone?
on his own
I
newscast.
have to agree. Okay, if you're doing this show, maybe I get it. But when you're a national guy and you're the guy that people are looking
And
to
the
for
managing
news,
editor.
and the managing editor, I understand that there's just a certain level of truth that you got to stick with.
Well, this is like my husband,
However-
Mr. Investigative Reporter, said, and he knows Brian. You know, we both
We
know
do
Brian.
too.
I don't want to.
So do we.
Which is
I don't
all
want to
do.
inflate the story. I haven't seen him for years, but,
You know,
I do
and
know
same with
Brian.
us.
We worked
Same with
together in
us.
New York.
But, yeah.
David feels like your network anchor should not be slow jamming the news with Jimmy Fallon. I was like, the president is slow jamming the news
Oh,
with
I
Jimmy
don't
Fallon.
care
Then
about
can't
that.
Brian
That
Williams
doesn't
do it?
matter.
And that's
That
where,
doesn't
But
matter.
he's
that's-
talking about credibility.
Okay, but that's where I now go into your camp where I get it, but I don't think he should be fired for it.
Well, he hasn't been fired yet.
He's getting a 6-month
actually think it's a
vacation.
really great study.
Without pay.
I think it's a great study. I think he got caught up. I think perhaps maybe he has some kind of issues where he feels like maybe he's not important enough and he wants to be a part of the news. There's something going on that maybe can almost be addressed. I'm sure a lot of people feel that way, do that. I mean, it's a little extreme.
I
what
always
he's
thought he was a
done.
really nice guy. Tiny bit pompous,
However,
but a really nice guy.
However, you can't do it when it comes to veterans. This is where I draw the line because these guys really go out there and put their lives on the line. And then to say that you've been in the same helicopter.
It's disrespectful.
That's where
It
I go
is
both ways.
disrespectful. It is a lie, and it is He says he was shot down, and he had to make an emergency landing. He was not shot down.
Okay, but maybe, lesson learned. Maybe
What lesson? Not to lie?
he was
not
in
to-
the neighborhood.
Yes, not to lie.
He was
Not,
being,
but
not
he's a
to
journalist.
lie.
The whole point of being a journalist is you're supposed to be telling truthful stories.
Did you read that they say journalists are it's the one profession where there's more psychopaths and sociopaths are journalists.
Duh, look at us.
Journalists. No, it's
Look
true.
at this room.
I believe that.
They every day do so many unbelievable things. In fact, we have a journalist with us today as our guest. We'll get to him later, Zoe. Her later, sorry.
Not too much later
Please.
because she's bored to death. Tell your
Right.
Stevie
I
Wonder
know, sorry.
story and then we'll move on.
Okay, well, and I left the expo early, right? Because
Right,
I
you
was
did.
going to the
We had to
Grammys.
rearrange the entire hosting schedule at UBN because of you. But go on.
because we were going to the Grammys. We did not end up at
Fancy.
the Grammys. Long story, I'll make it short. We turned down our tickets this year because they were a little high up. Thinking,
snooty
You
little
are
bitch.
No, wait a
really,
minute.
really snooty there.
Ah.
Aren't you full of yourself?
no, we're
Oh,
not.
These seats
This
aren't
will
good
never
enough
be-
for us.
No, because we figured
Who
the
wants to
ones
go to the
the
Grammys?
ones lower down will come available. This because we get them every year.
Oh, because Beyonce's not going to go because she's going to have a fight with Jay-Z? Is that what you were thinking?
guess what?
Is that what you were waiting for?
Guess what? Our nosebleed seats never came back. So
No.
lesson learned. Lesson
So
learned.
you did not go to the Grammys,
However,
but you went to the Stevie Wonder
we went
thing?
2 days late last night. It was fantastic. It was,
Is it still considered the Grammys
well,
if it's another
called,
week?
Well, no. It's called it was
It
a
is
post
Stevie Wonder.
Yeah, no, it was a post Grammy event. So it was actually like a Grammy event. It
was
at the
close to the
Nokia.
Grammys.
They
It was
had
Grammy
It was
adjacent.
like Brian, who was almost shot down. He was in the neighborhood.
No, he was
she
not-
was in the
No
neighborhood.
wonder you defend him. Look at how you live.
No, I go both ways, right? No, but
Yeah.
it was sort of a Grammy thing. And Beyonce opened up. It was fantastic. And I have pictures.
All right, let's see.
And my seats
Let's
were
see
good
the
enough
proof.
this time. They were sort of in the front because I can't see way up there.
Pictures of the screen?
What
I
is
did
this?
because
Oh.
you know why? People's heads were in front of me. I may have given you.
So you were punished by being snooty to the Grammy
wasn't really
people
punished.
by getting
Yes,
to go
you
to
were.
the Stevie
I
Wonder
wasn't really
Beyonce
punished,
thing.
but it was too late. Is what happened. There's Lady Gaga.
So
it
who was
a
the best?
Great. I thought a duet with Lady Gaga and Tony Bennett.
They did it again?
They did it again.
Uh-huh.
And I thought
Gaga
Beyonce
now
was
lives-
absolutely incredible. I mean, I saw her last year on the Grammys, in the Grammys, on the Grammys, and she was fantastic when she was with her husband. But wow, was she on fire? So
Okay, now you're
sexy.
annoying us.
Yeah.
But I was going to say Gaga lives next to a friend of mine now. So
Okay, so there.
Really?
So we
yeah,
we listen.
like okay.
We listen
Oh,
sometimes.
wait, who else?
Oh,
I don't
really?
remember.
Because she sings.
What, in the shower? What? What?
She sings at home.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
I love her. She's Italian, so I love her for that. But anyway, okay, who else was fantastic? The whole show was terrific, and it's going to
Which
be
show? The
broadcast-
Grammy show or this show?
The Post,
Okay.
and it will be shown on, I guess, CBS on the 16th. So it was a show. I got to actually attend a show, a taping.
Very nice. Okay.
With some of the people who were on the Grammys because I turned down my tickets for the Grammys. So there you go. There's my story.
You were
Never do
Grammy
that again.
adjacent.
I was Grammy
Can we
adjacent.
now
Can
talk
we now
to
get
Zoe?
to our guest?
Hi, Zoe.
Would that
Thank
be
you
all
for
right?
being here and putting up with us. She's never going to come back.
No, can you blame her?
Okay, who would
Hi,
like to
Zoe.
introduce Zoe? We love Zoe.
Well-
and Zoe and I had a great conversation on the phone, and thank you for being here. Zoe's got an incredible story for those of you who know him. We all know him and know of him.
And have worked with him.
Are you
because
tired of
he-
the wait? Are you tired of the him thing?
Pick a gender.
You have to
Pick
be.
a gender. We do.
Oh, please.
You did.
No, but I messed up because I'm about to say you were Bob.
I was.
Well,
And
Tell
now you're
everyone.
Zoe. So this is why, like an idiot, I'm going he when I should be saying Zoe she. So apologies.
so-
but I know you understand.
So
This
Bob
happens.
Tur was a helicopter pilot, a news helicopter
Famed
pilot.
helicopter pilot.
Really, I
Amazing.
mean, covered the biggest stories in Los Angeles.
And he really did them. Okay? Unlike
I mean,
Brian
when
Williams,
the
this guy did them.
when the OJ chase was going on, Bob Tur was in the helicopter.
You actually
Right.
did save people.
Yeah.
The riots when Reginald Denny was
50,
being beaten, Bob Tur was in
And
the
I
air.
believe you really were shot at.
I was, yeah. I don't think I was ever shot down, but I aspired to that.
Okay,
With
didn't
Brian
you
Williams.
didn't you save 50 people on top of a hotel? at one
54
point?
people in
Listen to this.
22-foot seas, 60-knot winds at night during a thunderstorm. They were trapped because this hotel at the end of a jetty was. Should I talk in the microphone?
Yeah. Oh,
I should
please,
know
you
better.
know better.
I know. I'm sorry, but there were, these people were trapped and they needed to be rescued. So we timed the waves, and I flew between the waves, and I plucked out 12 takeoffs and landings, and I was able to get 54.
I mean, a
people
real
out.
hero. That's a real hero.
No.
Yeah, yes, you
it's
are.
a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But I would say the Bob Tur that I knew was pretty macho.
He was, yeah. He was a really macho guy. This is like kind of like attending your own wake. You know?
yeah.
Well, at least you know what it'll be like, right? It's
Oh yeah, I know.
Well, we should, for people who are listening, we should let everyone know that Bob. We have some pictures of Bob when Bob was a famed helicopter pilot, and
okay.
then
Handsome guy, gorgeous girl,
and a
that's
wonderful
amazing.
person, and a wonderful
Yeah.
person with a family and 2 kids. And then Bob made the decision, a very tough decision, to, I guess, to accept that you're a woman.
I was transsexual, so I had gender dysphoria. I knew from about 5 or 6 years old that I felt differently than other kids, that I identified as female, but I still was, anatomically male. And that started around 6 years old, but it got very, very bad as I got older and more confusing, especially around puberty. It's a brain anomaly, and there's some structural differences in the brain. And it's just, it can't be cured. You can't do therapy. You can't take antidepressants. The only way to really cure this is with cross-hormone therapy, and in some cases, surgical interventions like sexual reassignment surgery and craniofacial surgery. And I've been through 2 major surgeries, and I've got 1 more to go.
Now, when you were 6, because I don't remember anything from when I was 6.
I do.
I wonder why.
What do you actually remember? What felt off?
I have certain memories. I remember my birthday party. I remember going to school and having gender confusion. Those things stand out in my mind. So at the earliest ages, I had this weird sensation that I wasn't really in the right body. And you don't forget that. And when I tried to communicate that with my parents, my mother was accepting, my father was not.
How did you say something? Like, how?
Yeah, what
Because
did
a
you
child
say?
doesn't have a lot of words at that time for
you
for
don't
the
know.
feelings. You don't know. So I'm wondering, what is
No,
it that you said?
You don't know. It's so confusing, and there really isn't. There's not a vocabulary available to you. You don't have any role models on television, and people don't really talk about this. So I was born in 1960, so we're talking about 1966, and there wasn't even a lot of medicine, based on this phenomenon. So, I really don't remember the conversations with my mother, but I remember, getting beaten by my father.
Your dad was not an easy guy.
He was not a nice guy, no.
Do you think that's part of this?
No, and
I don't think so.
And I think that's a really good question. But no, it's not something you can learn. And the reason for that is when you go on cross-hormone therapy, it either works or it doesn't. And that's kind of the test, because it would be like me giving you testosterone and you manifesting and changing. You physically change, your brain changes, the way you process sense data changes. You wouldn't like it. And for me, going on cross-hormone therapy and taking estrogen and driving down testosterone, and then with sexual reassignment surgery, not having to do that, just using estrogen, I see colors differently. I process information differently, the same way you do.
Are you more emotional?
Oh yeah. You're emotional, more you get more conversational. Your telephone bill just
So women
tripled.
do talk more. Okay.
Yeah, it's true.
Are you the same chopper pilot?
Evidently, I'm a little bit better, so I was able.
I knew we were better drivers.
No, I didn't say driving. I said flying.
Okay.
My car has new dents. I'm a terrible driver, just like Bruce.
Yeah, so let's bring that up.
So I happened to be there that day, right after the accident occurred.
We're talking about Bruce Jenner, the accident on PCH in which an elderly woman died when her car was pushed into oncoming
She's
traffic.
great. She's like a news reporter.
I
She
can't help
actually
myself.
is a news reporter.
All right, I can't help myself.
She's the meat and potatoes of the organization here.
So I heard
I'm the
today that,
vegetables.
and actually the cops told us that day that Bruce took a field sobriety test and passed, and I guess
Right.
today we know that definitely he
Was he texting, though? I know that they were looking into
I
that.
don't believe so, but we haven't seen the records yet. There are
Yeah.
pictures. It looks like he's smoking, maybe not
Yeah.
texting.
That wouldn't-
So
yeah.
is Bruce a he or a she at this moment? Am I referring to Bruce wrong, saying he?
Technically, she's a she.
Okay.
She's had multiple
Really?
surgeries to transition to feminize her face. She's on hormones. She's grown breasts. She's been on hormones probably at least
Bruce?
14, 15 months. Yeah.
I did not realize that. Did you know that? I didn't read about that.
Well, I mean,
That it
when
was
you,
that
when
far.
you
You
Been
can
on the
see it.
cover of
Yeah.
every
No,
magazine
I didn't know it was
in the
that-
supermarket.
But I didn't know it was that far in because it wasn't
Really?
confirmed. It
Well,
wasn't-
no,
I
it
don't-
wasn't confirmed. You're right.
Yeah,
It hasn't
so
been
that's why I didn't
confirmed.
I don't
believe
know,
it.
and I think you think Bruce
Yeah.
should be more open. I don't know if Bruce is being as open as you are.
Well, isn't
No,
he
not at all.
apparently talking to Diane Sawyer, and he's going to spill it all? I think
Well,
that's what he's
he's-
waiting for, the big reveal.
She has already gone through surgical procedures that are done for facial feminization surgery.
Mm-hmm.
She is on hormones. That's been confirmed. And it's actually, I think they were worried. They confirmed that because they were worried about the blood test coming back. So estradiol is being used. It's the same kind of therapy that I'm on, and I can see it. And this idea that, as a reporter especially, that I'm supposed to ignore what I see and what I know.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and what
To be
what
politically
you know very
correct.
well.
Right. Bruce is transgender. Bruce is transsexual. Bruce is transitioning. Whether or not she has sexual reassignment surgery, that's a question, and only she can answer that, and we'll see. But she's trans, and by coming out and being open, it's a role model. Also, it kind
I
of
think
takes
so.
away this whole Kardashian train wreck thing where it looks so much like a publicity stunt. And people ask me, is this real? Is this true? And people are dying in my community. We have a 42% attempted suicide rate.
I believe that. I
A
can't
suicide
imagine.
rate that is many times the national average. So enough. Come out, join the club, and deal with it. And we need you. And to have the world's greatest athlete and a so-so helicopter pilot, I think is promising.
But
So
why
you-
do you
you-
have to be a role model? I think,
I
when
think
you're
it's important.
why? Because when you're going through something so personal, whether you live your life in the public eye or privately, I do believe
Well, it's
that
not something you can hide.
no,
Well-
it's not about hiding. It's about being ready when you're ready to tell your story about your life. And then, because I hear this all the time when people feel like they're forced to be role models when they themselves are just struggling with being themselves.
But
you're that
she's
public.
already out.
Yeah.
And number two, this is being timed for a May interview and time for the release of a reality show. So my point is, look, when Harvey Levin called me at home, and June 14th, 2013, we want to do this story. Are you going to cooperate? And yeah, I want to tell my narrative. I didn't want Levin telling my narrative. I didn't want TMZ telling my narrative. I'd be a national joke. I didn't want to be in the tabloids, Carrie Fisher's ex, transitioning, that kind of stuff. In the Inquirer, I wanted to tell my narrative and control it. And because I was able to do that, I was treated with great respect. Jenner is treated like, a Kardashian. And the whole thing with respect to transgenderism and transsexualism is treated like a joke. It's a late night joke. It's a
that's-
clip from Family Guy.
But that's why it's so important that when someone is comfortable, that they come out and talk about it. Because imagine all the people who feel this way and will never ever even think about going through with it. And what about the families? I mean, what does it do to your what has it done to your family and theirs?
Yeah. Listen, being transsexual is not. It's a terrible path for a human being to travel, and because of that, I mean, going through this, you suffer from depression. It's confusion, and if you lose your family, you lose your job, you lose your money. I lost my job because of this. Early on, a flying job because I was transsexual. I could be put to death in like 15 different countries.
And you
for
talked
being-
about suicide. Is that something?
Yeah, I was correct. I was really on the verge of committing suicide June 8th, 2013. And finally,
Why at that moment?
What was that date? What was the significance of that day?
it was my birthday, and I just had enough. I was distancing myself from friends, from family. I was giving away money. I was getting deeper and deeper and deeper into depression. And one night, I remember one night, this was like May 4th. I remember these dates for some reason. I'm terrible with dates, but I just sat there and said, God, I just want to be a woman. And then I stopped and I said, a hot woman.
Well, don't we all, Zoe? Don't we all?
You are.
Join that club.
Yeah.
Hey,
Take a number,
Speaking
Zoe.
of
Yeah.
hot women, I mean, I know your wife. I've
Yeah.
known your wife better than I've known you over the years. I can't even imagine. How did you start that conversation, or did you not have to?
Harvey did it.
Oh, terrific.
Perfect.
No, I told my children, and they told her, and she called me up. I was divorced for a while, and she like her first reaction was, "What kind of woman are you going to be? Are you going to be this kind, that kind?" I didn't know, and she asked a few more questions, and she seemed okay and understanding, and then of course it hits you, and it hit her, and she was not approving, and we really didn't see each other or talk much about any of this until I met her over at the Inside Edition offices. She came in for an interview. She was good enough to do an interview because they were doing a story about this, and I met her for the first time. It was horribly painful. You know, horribly painful experience. My son, he's in medical school back in New Jersey. He's fine. He's been very supportive.
That's wonderful.
My daughter, Katie, not so supportive because, and you have to understand that
Katie's in the public eye, too.
Yeah, she's a journalist.
NBC News reporter. And, you know, you see your father a certain way. Yeah, you don't see your father in a dress, you know? And so it takes a while. It's been about almost 2 years. And she's learning to accept it. She's been nicer. But we have a lot of things to work out, and I totally understand.
What did she call you then? What did she call you?
You know, I can understand it from
Dad. She calls me Dad.
Yeah.
And how do you feel about that? I mean, because
I'm her dad.
You're her dad.
you're her dad,
I'm always going to be her dad.
and so I mean, I think.
Better skin, better eyeliner, but I'm going to be
There
her
you
dad.
go. Well, please share some of that eyeliner with
Beautiful
Dorothy.
nails. I'm looking
Pink
at
nail
yours.
polish.
I'm like, wait a minute. She's got nicer nails than I do. It's like you're taking the time. That's why you don't have younger kids
But
at
so
home.
your family, there were no hints along the way. You weren't dropping hints along the way.
No, I was very secretive, and it was a secret that I was prepared to go to my grave with, because how do you come out and tell somebody this? It wasn't until I got a divorce, and the kids were out of the house, and they were successful, they were along their career path, that I felt I can start thinking about myself. And I didn't think I'd be hurting anybody. I didn't want to do any harm. And then I started, this process. And really, literally,
What's the first step?
the first step is confessing
Okay.
To whom? To everyone in your family, or
to yourself.
Yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? It's almost like a 12-step program. I never had an addiction, but if you look at the addiction the path that people take, it's almost like that, And so I confessed it, and then I decided I was going to do something about it. So I went to an endocrinologist. May 6th, I got some pellets, some estrogen pellets.
Was it hard to even say that to the doctor?
Who was the first
No.
person you told?
No. The first one, besides my dominatrix? Yeah. No, I'm just teasing.
Hey, it's your choice, right? Whoever. But who was the first person you told, and who was the hardest person to tell?
I had a couple of very close girlfriends that I told, and they were shocked.
Really?
They were shocked. Then the third person I told a guy that I was friends with. I want to see how a guy would react. And his girlfriend, I said, I have to meet you. I have something very important to tell you. And he said, okay. So we made a lunch meeting. His girlfriend told him, Bob is transitioning. Bob's going to be a woman. And
She knew, or
she
she
knew.
guessed?
By seeing you, or how did
She knew.
Okay.
She instinctively knew.
She instinctively knew. We'd gone on these long
That's
hikes
really nice.
every weekend, and I was just very close to her. And I really never I talked around it, but she knew. She sensed it. So she knew. And then after I'd made the decision to do the hormone replacement therapy, I reached out. I wrote this very long letter to my son and to my daughter while I was on a flight from Florida to Los Angeles. And, of course, the woman next to me she was craning her neck. She hugged me at the end of the flight.
Really?
So
Yeah.
she was reading your letter?
She was reading my,
Is
so
that kind of personal? What is she doing reading your letter?
Oh,
it was
please.
Coach.
Really? She was done with the magazine and the flight pattern. And all
cozy.
that.
Oh, Cozy, right?
She was on your lap. Okay.
She's a big gal. And so we sat
my.
together, literally. So, so I wrote the letter, and as soon as we landed and I got internet connection, I pressed the button, sent it, and I realized you can't ring that bell.
Yeah.
And I went and I got the hormones, and within
A day.
one day, all the depression was gone, and it lifted like this dark. The room, somebody turned the lights on, and I was happy, and to spend a lifetime where you're confused and unhappy, and all of a sudden be happy, is startling. It's like being high, and I have not had a depressed day in 22 months. I've had some moments, but not a depressed day. And is this the right decision? It worked. I'm just thrilled, and I'm back to work.
Okay. Why Zoe?
Zoe means life. I had a contest among my friends. Name the transgender person. And so,
Formerly known as Bob?
yeah. Well, in a world filled with transgender helicopter pilots.
Yes.
Incredible.
Which is kind of nutty.
Hey, you've got
Nutty.
Your own, hey, you've got your own Wikipedia page about this. So,
I know, right?
You know,
But that
very
happened,
cool.
right?
Wait, so explain that, because yes, there
Right?
is someone else who you worked kind of alongside who is going.
Oh, that's
through
That's what I
a-
hated.
What?
Isn't that wild?
What's going
Okay,
on?
so the story breaks on TMZ, and that's like basically nobody knew. 28 million people later, like in an hour, I go and I get coffee, and they're like, do you want anything else, Zoe? And and they started laughing.
that.
So everyone knew at that point. I got a phone call from Desiree Horton, who happens to be the first female helicopter pilot flying for the California Department of Forestry. She calls me up and she says, "That's fantastic. Join Whirly Girls. We support you. You need to call Dirk Valley." And I said, Dirk Valley is a, and I don't want to use the word.
Oh, no FCC regulations here.
Love it.
Dirk Valley's an asshole. Why would I call that effing asshole? And she said,
Hey, ladies don't use that kind of language.
"Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, yeah."
I do.
Well, you're no lady.
What does that mean? Okay.
I'm half using it. I'm kind of in between. So, and I said, "Why would I do that?" And she said, "Dirk is now Dana. She transitioned 24 months ago."
Oh.
And I was shocked. This is a person that I competed with, another helicopter pilot, an Army aviator, another macho asshole. So, who had done 78 movies
like
as a stunt
yourself?
pilot.
Is that
Right.
what- okay.
Like your
I-
former
Okay,
self.
I've got something after this.
This, by the way, I mean, God has a sense of humor, because I was guilty of being a misogynist. I was guilty of being a jerk. I was guilty of a lot of things.
I always thought you were a tough guy.
Yeah, right. And now it's like I've lost male privilege. I get talked down to by doctors. I get talked down. I got charged $1,800 for a car battery. All these things. So
there really are differences.
oh,
that
there
you're
are
seeing.
differences. Yeah.
How
They're
nice
big
that you can really see both first.
Yeah, yeah. I had to call AAA, and the guy's saying, "Now, dear, this is how we do this." And I thought it was kind of cool, like, because the lights were really low. I guess he really couldn't take a good look at me, and so he was being really sweet, and I thought that was really nice, and I didn't have to get my hands dirty.
What's your hope moving forward?
Dating.
Yeah.
So
Who's your dream guy?
Well, I only go on blind dates
Okay.
because they can't see, and I think that's really a good thing.
Yeah.
I was going to say,
Not true.
quite a surprise there.
Teasing, I'm teasing.
We've done nothing to fix the sense of humor, obviously.
No. Somebody's clearly, it's got to be somebody that's strong, somebody that's secure, and I want. It's funny guys make me melt. And
All
as
girls like that.
right, and so as a guy, it's all about what you see, right? And I was capable of dating a 30-year-old. I'm 54, and now it's like 70-year-old man. So, no, but that's not quite true. But now it's funny guys. That's really important. And I start getting giddy, and I start sounding like a silly schoolgirl.
girl, yeah.
Yeah. So you get those sorts of changes, which is really unusual. I get crushes on guys, and so I've been on a few dates, but things are progressing. It's really interesting.
And when you talk about progressing physically, I know you shared some photos with us that John has where did you have your surgeries? And you said you've had 2 surgeries and you're about to have a third. Could you walk us
Yeah.
through
And
that?
please tell her about the Hello Kitty plane, because you too do
I've
have
been
that
on the
in
Hello
common.
Kitty plane. Love it.
Right?
I don't know
Is that a
anything about
sign?
this.
Huh. Oh, is that
Is that a sign?
It could be.
Yeah.
That we share Hello Kitty together.
No, well, not that.
No? Oh.
Okay, think about it. We'll get back to you.
Okay.
It'll come to you at 2 this morning.
Probably.
Oh, that's when everything comes to me at 2 a.m. when I'm like, that was it.
No, so I had to. The first thing, look, you do the hormones. You do the hormones long enough that you know it's right, that it's working. And I had been on hormones for over a year, and I made the decision it was now time to progress to surgery. So normally people get facial feminization surgery followed by sexual reassignment surgery. And that's a surgical procedure where they repurpose your penis, they invert it. And
God, that sounds painful.
Well, yeah, I thought so, but it turned out it wasn't, and so it gets repurposed, and it fully functions. It does what it's supposed to do, and you're orgasmic, and you can't even you can't tell visually a difference.
And where did you have the surgery done?
I went to Thailand, where they do this all the time, and they pretty much have really developed the techniques that are done here in the United States. So I went to Thailand. It was kind of a leap of faith. And I went to a physician that's done several thousand, and I was treated beautifully. I was actually in a hospital. I had Muslim nurses.
Oh.
And they were wonderful. And Christian nurses, Muslim nurses, and they treated me very well. It was a beautiful hospital. The doctor was wonderful. The surgery, I did the first thing was SRS. So I went to, literally, they wheel you into the operating room. They say, sexual reassignment surgery, right? And I go, yep, and I'm thinking this is.
It's good to get that confirmation, I think.
Right. Yeah, that's the point where it's like, if you're gonna run, this is the time to go.
Right.
And I laughed, got on the table, woke up, anatomically female. About 5 hours later, in a recovery room, and I was given Hello Kitty cupcakes. I thought that was sweet, and they change your bracelet and everything, and it's now. Miss and stuff like that, and so that was really interesting.
When you woke up at that moment, or what did that feel like? I mean, at that point did you feel like, okay, I finally fit my body, or were you not there yet?
The first thing I felt was I really like morphine.
Okay.
and then afterwards, I had my phone. They gave me my phone, and I was texting from the recovery room, and it's a baby girl, bouncing baby girl. So I was still kind of riding this high. The next day I was back in my room, and then it starts kind of hitting you, and you realize it's kind of like coming to the new world. You can't, your ship is burned, and you've got to make it. You have to make it because there's no going back. So, and the other thing was, it was kind of a letdown in the sense that it was anticlimactic. I felt just natural and normal. And so the next day I was walking. I didn't feel any pain. I never felt any pain. I had some twinges of it.
That's
you
interesting.
get phantom pain. And as the neuro pathways break down in your brain, the pain goes away. So there is this transition. The biggest transition is not anatomically, it's your brain. Your brain substantially changes on hormones, and it gets to a feminine size. It processes sense data differently. The corpus callosum lights up. You use white matter more than men do. And I think it makes you think more clearly and more efficiently. The problem is you think more clearly and efficiently.
But you're emotional.
Yeah, well, there's that, sure, of course. But you overanalyze everything.
Oh, women
Okay,
do.
wait a minute.
Yeah, women do.
I'm learning that.
But at your age, okay, at 54, you said,
Yeah.
will you go into menopause? I mean, how does this work?
Yeah.
I mean, is that whole thing.
Do you get to skip
are you
menopause?
Are you going to get your period and then quickly go into menopause? Do you get none of it? I mean, how does
If
that
my
work?
hormone levels drop,
Yeah.
so every 2 weeks I take an injection. But if I wait 3 weeks, I start getting menopausal symptoms. So
Oh, my goodness.
I get it. I so get it.
Now, if you had done it when you were younger, would you have menstruated every month? Is that how
No,
that
no.
Well, obviously not. Oh,
I
my
was-
God.
no,
That's so
no.
dumb. Just take
that
that whole
was-
thing out. As dumb as it goes. Okay.
No,
Thank-
it's a really
they
good
don't
question.
change that much.
Thank you. Oh, I
It's a
love
really
you.
quick.
Thank
It's a
you.
good question.
No, but if you go into menopause, I mean,
No.
yeah.
No. And by the way, I am pregnant.
Yeah.
No. No, you can't get
I probably
pregnant.
would have bought it, okay? All right,
No.
don't look at me like I'm as dumb as a rock.
No,
because
no,
I
no.
am.
No,
You
but
know what? This is new to all of us.
and me too.
No, I just wasn't thinking. You're right. I mean, you don't like put the rest of it in there.
But how much do you want to know? I mean, cosmetically,
I'm curious. You
the
said
vagina looks the same.
Orgasmically, you were talking
You-
about. How does that work?
That's
I gotta know.
It's a much different orgasm.
Is it? Okay.
Yes.
That would be interesting.
I want to know.
hear.
I mean, I really want to know.
That's what really people want to know, but they're afraid to ask. And the truth,
right, we're asking.
The reality is, I was just talking
At
to
least that's a
Brian
real
Williams. We were
question.
comparing female orgasms. No, so
Remember, your daughter works at NBC.
I know, and he helped her. He's a good guy, and I got to tell you something. You cannot fault him for telling big fish stories. I mean, every guy that you meet in a bar tells you,
Yeah.
that they were flying at 12,000 feet and they're a fighter pilot, and guys have these stories, and they use them on women, and it's like this.
But that's when we go to Anna. Remember, I said we go both ways here, but that's when you go to Anna and say, "But with his position, he should have known."
I
better."
know
Yeah.
it's
Both ways.
They
it's-
call him the most trusted
Yeah, that's
person
why
in
it
It's a
goes-
little
America.
hard to say that, but
It goes a
but I
little
want
both.
to talk about you. We already
And your
talked about
orgasm.
it. You're
Okay.
far more interesting. Back to your orgasm.
And your
please.
orgasms.
So do you
please.
have a clitoris?
I have
do
a
they-
clitoris.
Okay,
I have a clitoris. It's very sensitive.
as it should be.
And now I understand how the vagina works. It's like men do not understand how the vagina works.
Can you
And-
explain it to them?
yes. It's not about
getting bashed?
completely about penetration. So men think that it's all about penetration, and they skip the foreplay or they skip the clitoral stimulation, and that's the primary location. So I didn't really fully get it. The idea, like, where's the clitoris? Now I know where the clitoris is, and it's not in the vaginal canal. So it's different. So
God, this has turned into an anatomy class, but I do want to know.
no, but right, and
how
you
is it
lubricate,
different?
and
how is the
Oh.
orgasm different?
it's not, as a male, it's all centered like down between your legs, and it's a sudden trigger,
Okay.
and it lasts 10 seconds, 15 seconds,
And then you
there's
fall asleep.
then there's all right, the oxytocin is, and not oxytocin, the
Just saying.
tryptophan is released, right? So you fall asleep, and it's over, and you feel a little bit more relaxed, but you go to sleep. This is different. To get to orgasm, first you have to be relaxed. Second, it's not about the visuals, the cues. Sometimes, in terms of like masturbation, it has to be, you have to maybe read something. You have to, I get turned on watching a movie.
Daydream.
Right. Yeah. It's really in your head. It moves from
Right.
between
the
your legs.
The mood is much more important.
Very much so. Then once you do trigger the orgasm, it's in your body. You feel it in your breast. You feel it elsewhere.
Like an
and
earthquake.
It's like a flush. Sometimes
Good.
yeah, you
I'm
feel it
just
all
saying.
throughout your entire body, and
Just agreeing.
and it's a buildup, and it feels really good, and you can go again, and it's not like with a guy. When you're a guy and you orgasm, you don't want anyone to touch you there for a little bit because it's just too sensitive. This is like kind of a roller coaster feeling where you can get back up and take another ride, but you feel it. You feel it in your breast. You feel it so many places, and that's why I guess foreplay is so important.
And is all of that based on the hormones you're taking and obviously the surgery? Because if they did it wrong, you might not be able to feel anything, correct?
Yeah, they preserve all the nerve pathways. I do have one disadvantage, I have probably anywhere from a third to half the number of neurons and neural pathways down there, and that is one of the differences. However, it is really interesting, and I'm just trying to.
Are you happy?
Yeah,
You look happy.
I am happy.
You can see it in a person's eyes.
No, I'm happy,
You're
and
joyful.
I'm relaxed. Yeah,
Yeah, you're
and also you're allowed to be more expressive. So it's in your clothing and your hair. It's just in the way you communicate and being open. Like guys, you're forced to be so rigid, and guys wear a uniform, and guys are afraid to show emotion, and guys are afraid to do this. It is very restrictive being a man. So, but being a female, there's so many ways you can express yourself.
Do you know how we were talking about, you're sort of a role model for other people who want to go through this? I see you as a role model to go out and talk to men about what women feel because you know exactly what it's like. You've been both sides.
In two camps.
Seriously.
I'm as female as I possibly can be. I'll feel more comfortable in my body as time goes on because
Right.
a lot of that male wiring gets broken down. But I was raised male, and this female thing I'm learning. I'm learning to do makeup. I'm learning to do all kinds of things, the kind of stuff that you guys have grown up doing. So it's a learning experience. So we'll see what happens.
I think the oddest thing for me is that it doesn't feel odd. 'Cause
Right.
I've known you not well, but for a long time.
You went on
Because you
vacation
know
together.
why?
You guys
We-
went skiing
You know
together.
why his
We-
soul
we
is
did,
this,
yeah.
You know what?
Yeah,
her
we had a little
soul,
ski trip.
her soul is the same.
You were hot. You are hot.
That was a long time ago.
please.
No,
Look at her.
It was like
Done with
I was
it.
But
like
thank
I was
you.
starstruck. You know, I had you, I had
So
Jane
am I.
Velez Mitchell there. You know, and
And you know, because back then Jane was
The
the
hottie.
guy,
Yeah.
yeah.
but you kind of saw through that. So you
I
have
knew
some
Jane.
sort of
Yeah, I knew Jane was gay.
Your gaydar is excellent.
Oh, it was. Yeah, it's always
I
great.
have really good gaydar too.
I tried to
do.
be gay, and I was terrible at it. But no, the reality was that my reality of Jane was that she was gay, and I thought she was open about it, and I mentioned
is
it.
now.
She is now, and she came out to me. She said the first that she talked to, and you know, I thought it was great. You know, and she's kind of living her life now the way she wants to live it. Unfortunately, when she left Steve Duran, who she was with, my wife saw an opening in the position. I lost my wife.
It's,
So what
it's
do you mean?
very
What
interesting.
why?
Because
I
we
don't
all
know.
went on this ski trip a
Yeah.
long time ago. It was a crazy Thanksgiving years
Right.
ago in Mammoth, and there was so much snow. You know, we were all kind of
And everyone
stuck
was talking
together
about
like
their
cabin fever. And your ex-wife wound up eventually with Jane's ex-boyfriend. So
See, watch who you share a cabin
and Jane
with.
is now out as a lesbian, and
And
Bob is Zoe.
Right.
There
What
you go.
a trip that must have been.
That's a heck of a trip.
All right, wait, and
I'm
you-
still with my
and
boring
you,
husband.
And you and David stayed together. I love this. Oh, can
I
we
know.
go? Wait, we need to go skiing with you. This would be so much fun. What would happen? You know,
Everybody else had a transformational trip, but we're boring.
I don't know. You just drove
You are
home
not.
going-
You are not boring.
Yeah,
Not at all.
Not at all. You just drove home going, what's wrong with us? Like, why not us? Yeah, that's great. I love
By the
that.
way, David has something to tell you later tonight.
Dorothy, call
You know,
me.
he is one of those uber macho guys, and I see it
I
starts
know,
with
Well,
I
you know,
know.
wait. Do we have a call? Because I
We
want.
do.
I
We have 2 calls on hold.
But we have one person calling in for a charity that we're,
So
we're
we don't-
highlighting this week. But I don't want you to go away.
No.
I have one.
Well, we have to make sure who's on the line.
Who
then.
is
Yes.
on the line?
Okay.
Would you mind telling us?
I believe 917 is on the phone.
Is that us?
I don't know her number.
How do you not know this?
I don't know her number.
somebody who wants to
Can
date
someone?
Zoe.
Well, can we?
Hi, caller. Are
pre-screen?
you there?
Yes, this is Miley Zambuto from the Joyful Heart Foundation.
How are you? I wasn't
I'm
sure.
good. How are you?
Great. We were going a little over talking to Zoe, and we're glad to have you. Welcome. Welcome.
Thank
We
you.
always highlight a charity that we believe in every week toward the end of our show. And
We will transition
yeah,
into
we're
that
going to
for a moment.
transition, and Zoe's here as well, and we're just going to transition into you. And thanks for joining us. And would you tell us a little bit about the Joyful Heart, please? And thanks for being here.
Sure. The foundation was started actually 10 years ago. We're just in our 10th anniversary year. It's very exciting. And we were founded by the actress and advocate Mariska Hargitay from Law & Order SVU.
Mm-hmm.
And, Mariska has been playing the role of Olivia Benson on the show for 16 seasons now, and really inspired by her role and the homework she did to prepare for the role, encountered the statistics and the prevalence of these crimes. The fact that 1 in 3 women at some point in our lives will be physically or sexually abused. The fact that 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 6 boys will be sexually abused by their 18th birthday, and that every day in this country, 5 children die as a result of child abuse and neglect, and up to 15 million kids in this country witness violence in their home every year. So she was sort of left slack-jawed by the prevalence, and I think what really left an impression on her even more is that she was socially aware, well-educated, but really unaware of these issues and the epidemic level. And I think, I always say that's sort of what opened her mind to these issues, but what really opened her heart was the fan mail that she started to receive. She got letters before being an actress on ER just before SVU, and she'd get letters saying, I love your show, what color lipstick do you wear, would you send me an autographed picture? And now she was getting letters from survivors of all ages from all over the world, thousands of letters and emails from folks describing what had happened to them and sharing their stories of abuse with her. So really inspired by those 2 things, she started the foundation. And Mariska's intention in the beginning was to help survivors heal and reclaim their lives and to find a sense of joy again. And that's where our name comes from, Joyful
I love
Heart.
that. I love
And
that.
And so how do you do that? How
Yeah.
do you help these kids?
So we do it in 3 ways: through healing and wellness, education and awareness, and policy and advocacy. Our healing and wellness work deals directly with survivors. We created a retreat program, a holistic retreat program for survivors.
Where is that?
We also work with the professionals who care for survivors. So hotline advocates, SVU cops, prosecutors, those on the front lines who do this work, many of whom are called to do this work because they are survivors themselves. So we offer support programs to help them deal with what we call vicarious trauma.
Do you
The
have?
second part of our... Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. Go. You finish.
Yeah, the second part of our work is education and awareness. So much of the outpouring in the letters that we heard to Mariska in the early days were really from people, and over again, even though every survivor's experience is different, what we heard over and over again is, and I've never told anyone, and I've never told anyone. So the idea that there's so much silence and isolation around these issues is really because there's deep shame and stigma still societally. So our education and awareness work really works to change social norms, so to change attitudes, to make these issues more visible, and what I call sort of turn up the volume on this issue, something we've experienced a lot of success with lately. Just in the last few weeks, I think you see the first time an ad about this in the Super Bowl, the Grammy Awards. You know, what's happening now at the printing ground and a look across the country on college campuses, the way we've been looking the last few years in the military. We're seeing a level of awareness and recognition by the general public in this country that we've never seen before. And so that work is very important because it's one of the reasons why survivors don't feel comfortable coming forward, is because we rely on them to have the courage to come forward, as opposed to just inviting them to join a conversation that we as a society are already having.
I thought that was very brave what they had on the Grammys. I really did. I thought she was terrific.
Yes.
I loved that message. I really did. Where do you do your work out of? I mean, do you have group meetings, individual? Where and are you basically out of California, or you have satellite offices everywhere?
We're a national foundation, but we have hubs or sort of operations in 3 places: in Honolulu, in Los Angeles, and New York. But we really do work all over the country. In terms of our education and awareness work, we do it at a very grassroots level. You know, this work really started out of the women's movement 45 years ago, with women sitting around their kitchen tables talking about these issues. And so we do a lot to honor that and continue the conversation going at a grassroots level, whether it's at a sorority, in a church basement, in someone's living room. We try to encourage as much as we can conversation, but also on a very large level with huge media partners like Viacom, our recent PSA campaign for No More, with, you know, NFL players and 60 celebrities and elected officials that we've reached over 1 billion people. We sort of reach mass
like the
media
president.
doing awareness efforts like that as well. But I think both are really important.
You know, nothing worse than shame. Nothing eats away at a human being like shame. And I'm sorry, it is a shame. We're almost out of time. Can you just tell us quickly maybe how we can help?
Yeah, I think what I would say to you guys and to everyone listening, a couple of things. I think the most important thing is to talk. I think that, like I said, for far too long we've relied on survivors to be those brave ones, to raise their hand and say, this is what happened to me. And it's really hard to start that conversation when you don't know how you'll be received.
Yeah.
And for the most part, I think in society we have a lot of victim-blaming attitudes towards women without a lot of also accountability towards men. And so just openly talking about this issue, talking about it on your show, talking about it with your family, talking about it with your children, talking about it in your church groups, in your business settings, in any place that you can have this conversation, to have this conversation openly is going to start to break down some of that shame and stigma. I think the second thing is to listen. So many survivors, I have learned, and I've learned this myself, that the idea of someone bearing witness to your experience and your story and your suffering, that's what all those survivors reach out to in Mariska in those letters, the act of telling your truth and sharing your story and having someone else bear witness to that story and that suffering without judgment can be a very powerfully healing thing. So just to know how to listen, that you don't have to be the expert, that you don't have to have all the answers, that you don't go right away to you should just leave him, but to really just be compassionate and open and non-judgmental and know how to make a referral to a resource would be wonderful. And I think third, to get involved in your own community, whether it's giving of your time in a local shelter or rape crisis program, if it's giving money, if you have resources, but anything you can do to show an interest, to acknowledge that this is happening and worthy of support and resources, we would appreciate very much.
Great.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you so much. To
Thank
listen
you.
without judging.
Yes,
Thank
thanks, ladies,
you.
so much.
All righty.
Have a great day. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you.
Wow. This has been
What
an
do you think of that?
incredible hour, huh? To listen without
think-
judging.
Yeah, that's
Not a bad lesson.
She's
It's
right.
not. It's true, isn't it?
Yeah.
listen and look without judging, because I'm sure sometimes people even look. We're back now with Zoe, right? And they'll say, that's a tall, beautiful woman. And right? Listen and look without judging.
I think so, but people judge.
They do.
It's our nature.
I know, and I get messages every day like, you dressed like a slut on television, or
Dorothy
your
gets those
I've
too.
got those.
Yeah. You need to wear earrings, or who did your makeup and who did this. So I'm starting to realize the stuff that I never heard as a guy, this is, and that's my own family sending these messages.
Because you are working now. You're back to work.
I'm in Inside Edition, the first reporter in the country that's national reporter that's trans. So
Congratulations.
yeah,
How's that going?
Congratulations.
it's going really well. Inside Edition has been great, and the response has been really great. So hopefully there's some better things for me, and some bigger things, in the future.
Do you think you're you use the word better, a better woman than
I'm a better person, right? And I'm still getting the hang of all this. Like every day is a challenge, and I'm still like almost 70%, there. But the point is that it's really kind of fun. Like I walk into Sephora, and it's like
we all love Sephora.
I know, right? And you walk in, and it's like this big toy store, and they show you. And people have been so nice about showing you how to use the makeup. And then I go to Beverly Hills, and I'll go shopping, and I'll say, look, I'm transitioning, or I've transitioned. I don't know how to dress.
And they're helpful. I'm sure.
Yeah, people, women have been so welcoming and great. Guys, a little bit less so. That whole idea of
I think it's a process, though.
Deborah,
I think just as a society, I know we have to go.
We
right?
do.
Oh.
We really do. There's another show behind us, and we've got to be respectful to them.
Yeah.
Zoe Tur.
thank you.
Great.
Thank
hour.
you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being here. Beautiful. Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone.
Bye. Shut up. We'll see you next week.
Shut up. Just shut up.
Thank you.